This is my first attempt to video a PowerPoint with this iPad, so I'll see how this goes. Decided not to let you see me during, but this chapter 1 is going to be a short video on the chapter, just a few comments. What are the social studies? And so today we're going to be looking at defining the social studies, how they were taught in the past, what kind of theories and models have influenced them, and how understand some of the characteristics of social studies today. Might have to adjust this a little bit. So, what is the definition of social studies? It means civic competence. Civic comes from citizen, being part of a bigger whole, that we should know how to act in a democratic society. And that's kind of what the purpose says here, that we need to let our students learn to make decisions and work with diversity and let them express their opinions so that they will learn that you should vote, and also that they're going to grow up to have to interact with a diverse society. So those are some of the definition and the purpose given in our book, and that definition and purpose comes from the National Council for Social Studies. Also, social studies is different from other subjects because it helps students become a citizen, not just have knowledge or be able to do things, but to operate in a diverse community, which means to integrate knowledge, skills, and attitudes across disciplines. And I'm going to adjust this just a bit and see if I can get it a little better. Hope that doesn't. Okay. In the past, back in the early 1900s, they just focused on facts. And sorry to say it, very often we still just focus on facts in a lot of social studies classrooms. But in 1934, which still was a long time ago, Mitchell was influenced by Dewey's ideas, which included that students, what we kind of teach now is that students, the child needs to be the center of the teaching, not the teacher, and it should be active. They should be actively involved, which we know goes with Piaget and Vygotsky, and of course Dewey, and hands-on, and that they should have some choices. And sometimes that's kind of hard to do, especially with the standards now. But these are things that we see right now, and that there should be lots of resources available to them, and that they should be doing social studies, not just reading about it, and they should actually experience and be actively involved in it. And also, social studies should be based on what experiences they've had, and some of them come in with different experiences, of course, and then how depend on what kind of culture they've been in, that's going to affect their experiences. Oh dear, let me see if I can get that over there. So they usually go from the home, and then to the neighborhood, then the community, then the United States, then the people in other lands, and we'll be talking about that in class to see how that compares to the South Carolina standards. I have to keep adjusting this. Some social skills that they need to learn, which came from the social living curriculum, which was in 1923, was that kids need to learn how to share if they're going to get along in a world, and they need to become self-reliant. That means that they're not dependent on someone else. They can do things for themselves, make decisions for themselves. One we really like is develop an attention span. Even back in 1923, of course, they thought that. Learn to cooperate with others and have develop a self-concept that they are, what we talk about self-efficacy, they feel capable of doing something. And then also came along the holiday curriculum, which just kind of what kindergarten does now a lot of times, is their units are on holidays or whatever is during the month of September, Johnny Appleseed, October, Halloween, November, Thanksgiving, and that still is a part, but it doesn't really go with the standards we use today. And some things that really changed, sorry, that was my fingers, impacted social studies was the Sputnik, and back in 1960 when the Russians put a Sputnik or a satellite up in the Milky Way, and that really made us think that we're really far behind. So some changes were made there. Also, some changes were made in our social studies books and standards when the civil rights movement came along in the 60s. And then, of course, No Child Left Behind has influenced some of the theorists, like I've already said, Dewey and Piaget and Vygotsky. And so today we think, like Dewey thought and Mitchell thought a long time ago, that children need to be actively involved in social studies, not reading and answering questions. And it needs to be integrated, not just little bits of information, but how it works together. And needs to be meaningful. We need to connect it to their experiences that they have, or show them videos, something to help them connect it. And it should be something they're interested in, and so sometimes that involves how we present it, whether they're interested or not. And the Social Studies Standards has 10 themes, and one is culture. We need to learn about the culture around us and around the world, how things are produced and how they're distributed and who consumes them and how that affects prices. Also about time, continuity, and change, kind of like history. And then science, technology, and the society. Of course, we know that is so much of our society today. People, places, and environments, which is kind of like geography. Global connections, how we are more and more connected with what happens in other countries definitely affects us. And how we need to teach our students to be individuals and have an identity and know what they believe, really. And take those ideas and beliefs and put them into practice in our government, in our communities, and then how individuals get together to make groups and then create institutions, and of course about government power, authority, and governance. And some of the skills that are being taught that need to be taught now in social studies are social and participatory skills such as respecting the rights and privacies of others, promoting common good, care of the environment, how is what we do in the environment going to affect us later and other people right now, and help students to learn how to make good decisions, and when the decision is made by voting, then they go along with the group. Some values also are the democratic way of life, having a voice in your government. Some recent research says that children are more adept at applying their here and now knowledge to other times and places than previously thought before that they couldn't make comparisons between past and the present. And of course, our media exposes kids to a lot of places that they can't go or haven't been than it did years ago. And some of the curriculum models that are popular that we can learn from is Reggio Emilia. You guys all went to, I think, to visit the Reggio Emilia school or the display, which I was kind of disappointed in the display if you went to see that one. But how and what is happening, how is it happening, they want to find out. It's an emergent curriculum. It's not all learned at once. It's built one thing on the other, and a lot of affective objectives are being met by having the students feel free to express their feelings and ideas, and creativity definitely is a part of Reggio Emilia. It's just give them materials and guide them, and they will learn to create. And also the parents are very involved. And in a real Reggio Emilia school, the teachers stay with the same group for 3 years, which really could be an advantage because you'd know what to build on. That emergent curriculum would come out because you would know what they already know. And so the implications for Reggio Emilia in our society is that it promotes democracy, self-respect, solving problems, solving conflicts, which is major. The high scope curriculum believes in active learning also, and built on the children's interest. They do a lot of projects, not just busy work, and investigative problem solving through open-ended questions, and that's the higher level questions, not the knowledge-based questions. And the next one is there's 5 major social issues in the high scope program. One is that you need to become independent and take care of your own needs. And you need to express your feelings with words, not with fists. And building relationships between children and adults and building trust. Working together when creating and doing group work. And also dealing with problem solving with social conflict that was mentioned just before. So the high scope curriculum really encourages independence, collaboration, responsibility, and that's also part of the National Council of Social Studies goals of skills and attitudes and values. Montessori also, I'm sure you've heard of, also has active engagement built on the child's needs or what their experiences are. And they do a lot of mental stimulation through the senses and active, meaningful learning. Do you see how this is repeated in many of these curriculum models? And they are encouraged to care for the environment in the Montessori curriculum, respect for others, develop independence or autonomy, and be responsible. So that is the end of Chapter 1. That was about 12 minutes. I hope that that gives you a little insight about what we're going to be discussing in class.